When people talk about South Korea now, what do they think of? Presidents who either get overthrown or embroiled in scandals and end up doing time. And if they don't do time, they're dangling under the constant threat of impeachment. The government? They'll do anything, literally anything, to force women to have kids instead of addressing the real reasons behind the declining birth rate. From turning politicians into brand ambassadors for golf exercises, look it up, to proposing that girls start school a year earlier than boys to boost competitiveness. What? If you've ever seen any film by Bong Joon-ho, the director of Parasite, you'd notice they scream about how grim South Korea can be. This country might as well be renamed the Samsung Republic, because the Samsung Crown Prince holds more power than the president. As for the school culture, don't even start. Even the dramatized versions in media don't exaggerate enough. But South Korea's biggest problem right now isn't politics, it's the ultra-low birth rate. The lowest in the world. Actually, recently, the birth rate dropped to just 0.72, while a country needs 2.1 to maintain its population. Yet South Korean women don't want to have children, even though there's no shortage of handsome, rich, and charming men. Why? Most point to the economy and the high cost of living. But there's a lesser-mentioned reason. South Korea is becoming a technological hub against women. In a place where men think seats reserved for pregnant women are unfair, and post pictures online of themselves sitting in those seats to protest. Imagine being a woman in South Korea. You're expected to meet impossible beauty standards, basically supermodel level, just to be considered acceptable. No wonder South Korea tops the world in plastic surgeries. With over 1 million procedures every year, 1 in 4 women aged 19 to 20 undergoes cosmetic surgery. On top of that, South Korea has the largest gender pay gap among developed economies. Abortion laws? They were only legalized 3 years ago. It's no surprise that South Korean women are feeling immense pressure, giving rise to the 4B movement. No sex, no kids, no dating, no marriage, discriminatory laws, wage gaps, and the 4B movement. It's no shock the birth rate has plunged. And you know what adds even more to this? The cost of raising a child in South Korea is among the highest in the world. Raising one kid from birth to age 18 costs about $270, nearly 7 billion Vietnamese dongs. Then there's the academic elitism. If you don't get into a top-tier university, you're automatically at society's bottom. No money, no future. Where's the love or marriage in that equation? So, that's that. In South Korea, the best universities are called Sky, Seoul, Korea, Yonsei. Whether you get into Sky determines your status, finances, and essentially your entire life. And that, guess what, depends on how much money your parents have. Nowhere else does the phrase, "a king's son will be king," hold truer. How expensive is education? Imagine. Cram schools in South Korea aren't just common, they have their own term. Hagwon. It's a $20 billion industry. Parents spend more on tutoring than on food and housing. South Korean society is structured like this. If you don't make it into Sky, your life is basically over. Because of these enormous costs, most families can't afford to raise even one child, let alone siblings. And honestly, who would want their child to go through the hellish education system they endured? 8 straight hours of college entrance exams, the infamous Suneung, are enough to scar anyone. Some of the questions are so absurd that nobody can solve them. They're just there to weed out candidates. High child rearing costs, academic pressure, and skyrocketing housing prices in cities. More than half the population lives in urban areas, especially Seoul, where housing prices soar because there's little land and too many people. In an agricultural society, kids were free labor. But here, they're financial burdens. Raising children is expensive, and there's no extended family to help. It all falls on you. But the problem doesn't stop there. Samsung, the empire that runs South Korea, is the real story. In 2017, the Samsung Crown Prince bribed the president to secure his succession. When exposed, the president was impeached, and the Crown Prince was sentenced. And then, he got pardoned because the country needed chips, and Samsung had to operate. Samsung isn't just a company, it's South Korea. From being born in a Samsung hospital to studying at Samsung-affiliated schools, working for Samsung, and dying in a Samsung funeral home, your life belongs to it. With all that, you have 3 choices. Work for Samsung, become a LOL pro, or be a K-pop idol. Whatever you pick, it's not easy. South Korea is a country where people both despise big corporations and live under their shadow. Protesting with light sticks and K-pop music? Don't laugh. Life's hard enough as it is. Let them relax a little, okay?